this candle. In this case, price came this low. It opened at this level here, came this low and closed here. When this high, that is the top of this wick here. So this wicks above this and below these candles are what we call rejections. So wicks are signs of what? Rejections in the market. Now, how you interpret rejections matter a lot. Now, if you see a wick below that is long, it simply means there is bullish pressure because a price is rejecting from down. And who actually pushes price up is buyers. So if we are seeing that price came this low, but for one reason or the other, it went back up, it simply means buyers did this. So you can see a candle close bearish, but if you interpret the psychology behind the candle, it would tell you that even though it's a bearish candle, but we have more bullish momentum or more bullish activity. So this behavior is something I've noticed. Now, if you go on daily, this same zone we are looking at, it seems like price is breaking above this zone because that we are seeing candles going above. But if we go on weekly, what you would notice is that that entire move we saw above, eventually on a weekly time frame was a rejection. So this is trying to tell us that price went all this way high, but for one reason or the other could not sustain at this level, and eventually it came below and closed there. And if this closes below, it's closing below our zone. So it means that we are not actually seeing price going above or going up since it has closed below a key level of resistance. And we know what happens at resistance. If market is at a resistance rejecting consecutively or showing exhaustion, it simply means there is bearish pressure and the resistance is definitely being respected. And that is what we saw here. And that is what similarly I'm seeing happening here. I did mention that there are three scenarios I'm expecting price to act on at this level. Is either we see price come into this level and shift to the upside, mean react to the upside. We would see exhaustions, bearish momentum getting lost, and bullish momentum coming in gradually till we see price go up. Or we would see price break all the way below, giving us the sign that most likely it would go down, but eventually it will come back up, and that is what is happening. So this is a weekly time frame. It means it would take 7 days for this candle to close. We have only tomorrow for this candle to completely close. If this weekly candle closes up, then there is great possibility and probability that price might reject at this level, and we could potentially see price moving back to the upside. We can't say this for now, but there is signs of this, and we would follow up on those signs and look for more confirmations to support this move to the upside. However, looking at what price is doing now, I am not surprised because I know that Bitcoin has been acting this way. If you notice carefully, look at the same behavior, rejecting above this demand zone. Now, this is a bit technical, but if you look between this area and this area, there's what we call a gap. This is called a fair value gap. I don't know whether I should explain that, but anyways, if you have time, you can check what a fair value gap is. Fair value gap more or less is like the imbalances price create when it advances in a certain direction. So when price is moving, what we are saying is that we need two participants to actually have a transaction completed. We need a buyer and a seller. So if you're in a market that you have only buyers and sellers, then it's incomplete. So what we are saying, if we are seeing only sellers and there are no buyers, there is something wrong with this business. It's still not complete. This transaction is still not complete. So what we would want to see, if sellers are coming in, we want to see some buyers in, then we know, okay, what we have both buyers and sellers. So this is a complete or a fair transaction. So that's the best way I can explain this. So what price has done, it has created a fair value gap. This is an imbalance in the market. So this, if you go on a lesser time frame, what you would see is a demand level there. So that demand level is where price taps into to finally drop. And eventually on a weekly time frame, this would end up looking like a rejection, which we would see, obviously. Now, if you look at weekly, market is super bearish. This is 3 weekly candles, meaning for the past 21 days, price has just been tanking down. We are not seeing any single or one single bullish candle, meaning all price has been doing is just dropping this for the past 3 weeks. So this is a very strong momentum. But what I'm seeing now is that I am seeing that momentum being lost. And it is happening at a very key level. And this level is very significant because this was the last level that price halted before we saw price moving to the upside. And another thing that is very significant about Bitcoin prices is that I believe that currently Bitcoin prices will not be as predictable as it used to be before. The reason because now we have a lot of institutional participants. Now, these guys are bullies, if I should say, because what they do is try to take advantage or manipulate the market, not necessarily control the market. I doubt if they can do that, okay? Because it would take a lot to actually control the market. But to manipulate is very possible because what they would use is the influence they have in the market. And that is why you see sometimes the prices are acting very unrealistic. That is what manipulations does. So what I would say is the common theories we hear about price movement in crypto especially would not be the case now. So we have to be very careful what narratives we follow out there because mind you, I mean, just as I said earlier on, now we have a lot of institutional participants which were never part of the game to the extent or to the dimension they're in now. And that has a lot of sentiment in the market. It will definitely, because now we are seeing that the volumes that are coming in are getting larger and bigger. And what actually drives the market is not how many participants are actually playing at the time, but how much volume is being pushed into the market. So it doesn't matter if they're about 5 or 10. So far as the volumes are big, they would definitely have an impact in the market. So let's have that at the back of our mind. So what I would say is, for me personally, I am looking at the price behavior and at the price movement. So, like for example, this thing I took note of, I've just been observing. So every little thing that I take notice of, I take note of it and see how much or how often it will happen. And once I begin to see that it's becoming significant, I would put it into perspective and make sure that I consider it before I take any serious decision about whatever trade I'm jumping into. So that is one thing I want us to take note of, because we would see Bitcoin moving in a very transitional way that is not precedented, if I should say, or not the common ways we see Bitcoin moving like the previous times. You see, these are very easy systems to read. Like you can clearly see the movement between layers to layers. These are very easy to work with. But this behavior we are seeing, this choppy movement, this is not your usual Bitcoin movement, okay? So I would say right now we just need to be more cautious about the price movement. What happens here will determine a lot as to what price would do. Now, if price manages to sustain above this level, there is a great potential that I don't know how soon that will happen. But if price manages to sustain this level, we could see a lot of reaction, a lot of delays, a lot of manipulations, but eventually all of this will result to something giving us a new high. Now, all of this, I can determine that in terms of how the price will move. I would need to see certain behavior, like certain expo as to price movement before I can tell you what price will do if it comes back around this area. But for now, what I would say, if price manages to sustain above this, there is a great potential that before the year runs to an end, we might see a higher high form, or probably Bitcoin hitting that 150K. But if not, what we would see is price could possibly come down lower to somewhere between 54,000 to somewhere around 49,000. Now, if price does this, what we could see is a very unusual price behavior in terms of dropping. And I'm not saying this means that Bitcoin will never go up again, but I'm saying this will frustrate a lot of Bitcoin traders And this could make a lot of people jump out of their trades or possibly sell their coins. All I know is if Bitcoin is what they say it is, whatever happens, Bitcoin would eventually go up. So what you should be more concerned now is how patient are you, your tolerance for holding drawdowns or losses will determine how far you can go into profiting with this coin, Bitcoin itself. So this reaction is affecting every other coin out there because I mean, Bitcoin more or less is the father of all cryptos. So if you see the price of Bitcoin dropping, it will affect many other currencies. For example, I think Solana, for example, let me just Solana. If we look at Solana, I cannot find you. Okay.
That has played for the club, that understands the pressure of playing for Manchester United leading you. No, I think everyone understands the pressure of playing for this club.
Is someone talking to me?
I don't think so. I think somebody's not muted. If you're not speaking, please mute yourself.
Around it, so
let me take care of it. Hold on.
Okay. So we can see Solana. Now, this is why price action is very important. Now, I posted these levels on Solana about, this was somewhere around November. Somewhere around November was when I posted this, okay? I did highlight these levels that I'm expecting Solana to behave significantly at these levels. And you can clearly see we have market dumping at these levels every single time till eventually it broke below. And all of this is as a result of what is happening to Bitcoin right now. Solana is currently trading at, let's say it's currently trading at $86, all the way from 148 to 86. Now, this is because Bitcoin is also dropping. And if you notice, just look at the pattern. This is this exact scenario. The correlation between Bitcoin and Solana is so positive, like I would say somewhere around 90% to 95% correlation. And if we go on the weekly, you can clearly see for the past 3 weeks, you can see that we saw on Bitcoin for the past 3 weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 candles dumping to the downside. Likewise, if we go on Bitcoin, you can clearly see 1, 2, 3 weekly candles, all what dropping to the downside. And this is because Bitcoin has a lot of influence in terms of price direction on all other cryptos. So once we see Bitcoin dropping, we should see other coins dropping. Now, if you look at Solana, this is another demand zone below what the resistance or the support level. This zone you're seeing, this is a base block. That's what I would call it, a base block. Usually, I would like to take the close and the low of the week as my base instead of the entire candle. So you can see where price is rejecting. All of these for someone like me is very normal because I know these levels and I know how price reacts to this level or how these levels attract price. So definitely this is not something strange to me. If we extend this was a previous one area that was acting as support, broke above it, now acting as resistance. It's just simple as that. When price reacts to this level, if we just extend this like this to just look at the entire zone, look at it, this is the entire zone. Okay, that's why I said support and resistance is not just one line, it's a zone. If you look at it, there was some level of reaction here when price first came here and dropped. When it broke above it, it turned this resistance into support. And now we can see that same behavior. When market broke again below it, what happened? It went above. And what came back but did not touch it. But look, eventually let me say some years ago, so this was somewhere around 2023 December, somewhere in the future in 2026, my price comes back into that level. What do you think will happen? The same thing is now rejecting because this is a key level of what? Demand and supply zone. So you expect price depending on where price is. If it is above, it will act as what? A demand, and if it is below, it would act as support. So these are just basic principles from a technical perspective. So if we see the weekly candle currently close above this, most likely we would see price dropping. Now, if you look at the 4-hour time frame. Now, the lesser the time frame, the more activities we would see. So I'm just trying to break down all of these activities that we're seeing. Let me just delete this. I'll put that back later and this. So if we look at 4-hour, you can see this on a 4-hour, it looks like a breakout below the zone. But I know on a higher time frame, this was not a breakout. This entire drop to the downside is currently a rejection. Okay. Now I'm currently in a temporal buy. I've actually adjusted my stops in profit, meaning worst case scenario, I would close in at least some $10, $15, $20. I entered somewhere around here. Now, the reason why I entered around here is because there is this dynamic zone. What is a dynamic zone? It's generally support and resistance on a dynamic level, meaning it's going like vertical, if I should say. Yeah. So generally, if you notice this line, this trend line here, every single time price came here, it acted as what? It acted as what? As support. Hit it, went up. Hit it, went up. Hit it, went up. So it broke. So I know that this is a dynamic level. If this zone is acting as support and it breaks it, the next time it goes there is going to act as resistance. And that's why I jumped in on a buy. So this is just a temporal buy for me now. I'm just taking the ride till my next TP. That will be somewhere around here. Now, overall, this is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm looking at. Now, I was waiting for the internal structures to be broken. All of these is internal. I don't have to explain this, but let me just keep it as simple as possible. Now, this level below here is where I'm expecting price to still bounce back into. But I want this to happen somewhere Monday, not now. I want to make sure that the weekly candle, I want to make sure that this candle here closes. Sorry, now I have so many lines there. I want to make sure that this weekly candle closes above here. So for the next 24 hours, or let me say for the next 30 hours, I want to just see price hanging above this level till Monday morning. Somewhere around the same time, I want to see price come back into this zone. Price could even go above this zone. I really don't care. But I want to make sure that everything that is happening within this weekly time frame, I want to see price just staying above this red zone. Once we see price go above, closes there, and on Monday, which will be another weekly candle start or an open of another weekly candle. So let's see how many hours we have generally. Okay, we have 1 day and 10 hours for this weekly candle to close. You can see that here. So this is a rundown time frame that shows you how many time or how many minutes, hours are left for a particular session to close. So on a weekly time frame, we have 1 day, 10 hours more for this candle to close. So I want to make sure this candle close above this zone. Then what I would do is I would look for entries at this zone when price comes back. So all I know is this would be a pullback to fill in the missing price, to correct price, because I mean, nobody would trade if market is just doing this. Imagine the price or Bitcoin just does this. No, nobody want to buy a market that does this. We would rather want to see this corrections. When price moves like this in a form of a wave, it gives participants the time to decide and to participate. But if price is just going all the way up, I mean, that doesn't make sense. Nobody want to be in a volatile market like that. So that's what I'll be waiting for as at now. If that happens, I would definitely appreciate Bitcoin or seeing Bitcoin going up. I would love to see that because I know many people right now are looking forward to Bitcoin price going up because I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of investment in Bitcoin and other coins too as well. So, I mean, if Bitcoin moves, it's not just for Bitcoin alone. It's very positive for other cryptos out there. So let's keep our minds on that. And hopefully, I hope this week we would see that. If not, the next level I'm seeing is this level below. That's the level, the yellow zone here. And if price gets here, I would want to see the reaction first. I want to see the reaction first before I can determine any other thing, depending on how price reacts here. The reason why I say reaction is because if you notice, look at this level here that we see price dropping every single time. So when price gets to a zone of support or resistance, what I try to look out for is exhaustion, rejection. Once I see this behavior, consistent, it means price is actually struggling to break. So notice every area I have highlighted, you would see that behavior. You see, we see what? Exhaustion and rejections. Weeks are signs of rejections. And when you see candles just flaunting around a zone, it means it's exhausted. There is no enough momentum to make it leave or break. So once I see those behaviors similar to all of these levels I've highlighted, then I would notice that there is possibly some movement about to happen. So if I see that here, we could possibly see this could be the next zone for the push to the upside, or this could be. So we would still need to wait for more confirmations to determine what that will be. Yeah, so that's my forecast for Bitcoin so far. If you have any questions, let me know.
Anybody have any questions?
Sorry?
Okay, so thank you, Joseph, for the presentation. I have a quick question.
Yeah.
With your current analysis now, when your advice is that we sit on our hands till next week. So
Sorry.
what price?
Can you come
Your
again?
advice, based on your analysis, your advice is that we should basically sit on our hands till next week. So my question is, what price should we be looking at?
What?
Looking at buying some Bitcoin, but I really don't want to shave off. I don't want to have any losses as much as possible. I'm trying to avoid it. So is there a price, a sweet spot that I should be looking out for before buying?
Okay. Okay, so first of all, I want to ask now, we have different types of executions in the market. Are you hodling or are you doing instant executions? Like instant executions is like you having a broker account, and on the broker account, you fund your broker account and you're connected to a terminal that is the MetaTrader 4 or MetaTrader 5. That's where you take your executions. Are you trading that way or you're hodling? Hodling simply means you are with an exchange or a wallet. It could be any wallet, Trust Wallet or Binance. You buy the coin
Yeah.
and just keep it. And when Bitcoin overall appreciates in value, you also see that reflect in your portfolio. Which
Yes.
of the ones are you doing?
The holding.
The hodling. So okay,
Yes.
if that's the case, what I would advise you is, okay, since you're looking at it now from a technical perspective, this I was telling this to somebody yesterday. I said the advantage you have if you have some basic technical knowledge is to know when to actually buy and when to hold. Now, if you look, let me just give you a simple example for you to understand what I'm about to tell you quickly. Now, if you look at this, let's assume you're not looking at Bitcoin price at this level. Like all you hear about Bitcoin is currently Bitcoin is at $126, 475. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing my chart? Where price is now? Are you seeing this level I'm highlighting now? Are you seeing this level? I'm talking to the guy that asked the question. I need your response.
Sorry, could you repeat what you said?
Yes. So I need you to be active on this. Just keep your mic on for now so that we can just conclude on this
Okay.
quickly. So I'm saying, let's assume you have no technical background. All you know about Bitcoin is Bitcoin's price is like currently where I am now. You can see Bitcoin is
Yeah.
sitting at 126,244, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you see Bitcoin drop all the way to, let's say, all the way to 82,000, this would be a good buy for you, right? Sincerely, just
Yes.
tell me. And why are you buying?
Yes.
Why are you buying? Because it's the value of Bitcoin has drastically dropped, right?
Yes.
Okay. But what you don't know is even though Bitcoin price has drastically dropped, from a technical perspective, it's still not at a good zone to buy. Why? Because when you look at it from a technical perspective, Bitcoin has broken a major support zone. And this simply means there is great potentials for price to still continue going down. So for someone like me, I wouldn't buy here. Instead, I would rather wait for Bitcoin to trade above 98,000 99,000. Once I see price go above and sustain, that's when I want to buy, not when it's at 82 or 81. Why?
Okay.
Because from a technical perspective, what I'm saying is that because price is below this major support zone, this would just be a pullback. It's just like when a bull wants to hit something, it reverses, right? So that it can hit it harder, right? So
Yeah.
that's actually what's happening. That's why the market we have bulls and bears. Is the reaction these animals behave like. That's the way the market behaves. So this is just like the bull reversing to actually hit harder. So someone is looking at the bull reversing and thinking the bull is running away. The bull is not running, it's actually coming to hit you hard. So what it's doing is reversing, and you think it's actually reversing to push up or to run away. But what it's doing is regaining its strength to further do what it has been doing. And that's what we saw that happen here. Bitcoin did that reversal, which we would call technically a pullback, come back into that zone and drop massively. Are you seeing that?
Okay.
So
Yes.
what I'm trying to explain to you, you would definitely need to have a fair technical knowledge, not generally intense, advanced like me, but just basic support and resistance knowledge. Just with that, that gives you leverage. It gives you advantage to look into when to start buying in the market. So now, whilst every other person is buying here, someone like me would be saying buying here would not be a wise thing, because from a technical perspective, I'm not seeing anything that would indicate that Bitcoin is going up. Everything I'm seeing is pointing in one direction. Bitcoin is going to continue going down, down, down. So what I would say to you is the same thing I've said. For me to start buying, I need to see those signs. I said this and I'll keep saying it over and over again. Whatever market wants to do, there must be signs. If price wants to go up, it will show you signs. Okay. So those signs are your advantage to look into them and start making the decision as early as possible before the main thing happens. But the faster you notice it and get into it faster, the better your reward will look like. It's not after price has actually gone, that's when you want to enter. Everything has happened then. So what I'm trying to say is generally, I can't tell you buy now, but what I would say is looking at what price is doing, depending on how weekly close and the behavior I see in the next coming week. If you're hodling, there is no need to be in a hurry. Instant execution market traders like me, I should be the one in a hurry, because now I'm actually even selling temporarily till price gets to another level. Then I'm closing my trades because I'm trading with a broker. But you are holding for the long term. So I don't see any reason for you to be in a hurry. What you need to identify is to when should I be entering? It doesn't matter if Bitcoin is 300,000. With this knowledge, even if Bitcoin is worth $1 million at the, let's assume currently Bitcoin is worth $1 million. Everybody might be thinking it's too expensive to buy. No. I'm saying if Bitcoin worth $1 million and you know when to enter, you can still make profit out of that, out of the price of Bitcoin, because Bitcoin could move from 1 million to 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. That's very possible. So I want to get in when I'm sure Bitcoin would do 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and not be worried about 1 million is too far, it's too expensive. Bitcoin could, there's a lot of potential for price to drop. No. I will not look at it from that perspective, because I have something that supports my executions. And that is a confluence for me. It gives me some level of security and confidence that, okay, this decision I'm going in for will have a high probability, because I've seen signs and I've put them together, and I can tell for sure that the probabilities of me seeing Bitcoin appreciating in value is high because the signs are there. I don't know if what I said makes sense.
Okay. Perfectly.
So for me, it's not about
Perfectly.
the current price. It's about what market is currently doing. Bitcoin could worth anything and you could still jump in. Bitcoin, there is no limit to any crypto as to, it doesn't matter how much a crypto worth. Once you understand how its value chain works, you just need to jump in when that value increase is coming in, and you jump in.
And I'll
Make
make
as much
another
as you can.
comment, Joseph, on
Okay.
that as well.
Yeah.
Which is that, like you said, if you're trading, you have to really watch carefully what Joseph's saying right now. If you are hodling, which means you're holding it for longer term, you don't necessarily, even though, like for me, I use it for, other things as well. So in that case, I've got to watch what's happening with the price, because, you can, if you have any leverage or anything like that, that can be a problem. But if you are just holding for the long term, you can just dollar cost average. So you could buy some every week, every month, and you don't need to worry as much about the price because you're holding it for, the next
Long term.
2, 3, 5 years, right? So it depends on that too.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a good one. So if you're holding it long term, just jump in when it's needful, not just because you see price going down. Price could be going down, and no matter how far it drops, doesn't necessarily mean it should start going up. There should be very good reasons behind why price should go up. And until you see that, it doesn't matter how cheap Bitcoin is. I wouldn't jump into buying Bitcoin just because it's cheap. There should be some factors technically that I know that would convince me that this is the time to buy. I could buy Bitcoin at 100 and I could buy Bitcoin here, depending on what I see. It really depends on that. If I see all the confluences pointing in the direction that Bitcoin would definitely buy, I would buy it even at the high.
Okay.
But where it is now is a place to look out for. If you're on the page, definitely I'll drop my updates there. So just keep following. If we see anything that I need to put across, I'll definitely drop it on the page for long-term traders.
All right. Noted. Thank you, Joseph.
XRP as well. I think XRP is very cheap right now. I'm actually looking at XRP dropping to at least $1. XRP. XRP USD, where is that? Yes, I think I posted this somewhere. I can't remember, but I think I have a screenshot of this on my chat. When XRP was sitting around here, I did say, looking at what price is doing because of what Bitcoin is doing, I'm expecting possibly XRP to drop somewhere around where it is now to $1. Yeah, I did say. So you see, on just quick one, if you look at XRP on a daily time frame, this level here is a demand zone. This is a clear demand zone, and that's almost around $1. This is a demand zone. So once Bitcoin start doing the needful, it's very easy for me to jump on other coins, right? Because of what Bitcoin is doing. That's why even the trades I had on Solana, I just had to stay away from it because, Solana is not the driver, Bitcoin is. So once Bitcoin start doing the right thing, I'll be willing to join other coins. But for now, I'm just looking at this. So if we see Bitcoin really sustain at that level, we could see price possibly just drop to $1, and that's XRP, and we could see the price going up. And if you look at this zone, there is nothing that happened in the market by accident. There is nothing that happens in the market by accident. Where you are seeing XRP right now is a previous key level. If we look at it from a zone perspective, this area, when XRP was just introduced to the market, I'm not sure if this is correct, but my chart is not loading my previous price history. But let's just look at this from here. If you look at this, this is somewhere around 2023 in July. This was the last high within this time frame when price broke above it. And since then, we have not seen price come close to this previous support zone. So now that we are seeing price coming there, this could be a potential area for price to come bounce back, because now this is resistance, now is acting as support. So it's flipping the zones. It's just like when you're climbing the stairs. So you step on one and find balance or support to take another step. So it's the same way. If you are climbing down, the same step that supported you to climb is the same step that is supporting you to drop. So it's just how you use it. So I'm also expecting XRP to come to somewhere around $1, possibly if Bitcoin still keeps dropping, and if it sustains at that weekly level and we see it turn, this could be another turning point for XRP.
And Joseph, let me maybe just give a comment on XRP so people know the significance of it.
Sorry?
XRP is actually going to probably be the replacement for what the US and the West use for banking. So that is going to end up probably being the new technology used for Western banking system is going to be XRP. So it's actually a pretty big deal. A lot of people are very, very into that one because, and for if in Africa or diaspora, if you own some or you're able to access that network, that's going to be valuable for you as well because it means you can directly access the network that is being used by basically the Western financial system.
Now, if you want to know much about XRP, go do a good research on Ripple. Now, Ripple is one of the biggest, how would I say, monetized financial infrastructure in the world. Most of the big companies you see with different names are all on the Ripple. So Ripple is more, XRP is more or less the coin for Ripple. And if Ripple has XRP as their token, it means every other transaction they do on the digital market, they would definitely use XRP as their mode of transaction. So XRP is going to do a lot of things because the people that own it would back it in every way possible, support it. So I definitely believe that XRP would definitely worth something significant in few years to come. I can't say when, but that will definitely happen one day.
Cool. Other questions you guys have for Joseph on Bitcoin or XRP or any of the others? The trading is very informative for me. I like to see what's happening, especially when we have really big moves like this happening in the market. So anybody else have other questions?
Sure. I want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
Where do you think the optimal platform for purchasing crypto? Is it Coinbase or as an example? I also know that Robinhood now is also you can purchase crypto on that platform. So could you tell us what you think is the best platform for us to buy the crypto?
Anyways, it
Joseph?
depends on what location you are. Like for example, where I am, I use Binance. I use Binance. Sorry, I used to use Binance before, but now I can't use Binance because now Binance have declined Visa transactions. So I can't use my local bank account to actually purchase any cryptos through Binance. It was available before, but now it's not. So one of the ways we purchase is to use the P2P on Binance. So you have people that actually have cryptos already on their Binance account. So what we do, we buy P2P, which is peer-to-peer. So if they're within my region, which is Gambia, so I pay in my local fiat into their account, and the Binance platform helps us to transact without any conflict. They would definitely just secure the coins, and once I make the payment and the customer confirms that I've made the payment, Binance will release the money into my account. And if there's any issue, we can always raise the complaint on their support team and they will do their investigation. I think Binance is pretty much okay. Before, I don't know where you are, but before they were blocked in the UK, but now I heard Binance is open again in the UK. Bybit is also a good place. Coinbase, you can also use Coinbase. It depends because most of these platforms, they have regulations and they have restrictions due to reasons best known to them. But not all countries are actually accepted on these platforms. There are some countries that are not, some are accepted. So all you need to do is find out which exchange is available in your region. And if you can purchase with your either Visa card, MasterCard, just look out on the payment methods. If your country is available, they will let you know what payment method is available for you. So Binance is one, Bybit is one, Coinbase is one. And I used to use one which was very good back then, Uphold. I don't know if you've heard of Uphold.
No, I haven't.
You have Uphold, right?
No, I haven't. I haven't heard of that. No.
Okay, you can check them out. Uphold, UPHOLD, Uphold. They're also good. I used to purchase with them, but with me for now, buying with my local currency is not of a big deal for me because what I do is mostly when I trade with my broker's account, when I make withdrawals, I don't make withdrawals directly into my my Visa. I use my crypto wallet. So I just need to provide my broker with my wallet address, whether I want to withdraw with USDT or Bitcoin, and they'll just fund my wallet, whether it's a exchange wallet or it's my just a wallet like Trust Wallet. I just need to provide my address, and within a couple of minutes or even within a minute, they would fund my account. So that's how I actually purchase, or that's how I transact getting coins.
And Joseph, I'll add on to that. Like you said, it's really important what country you're in, because different countries, allow different exchanges. A lot of my team across Africa uses Binance, so it's very good there. The US, UK, Coinbase is usually a good one. It depends, and like in Singapore, they've got, I think, Gemini and a few others. So it depends where you are, which exchange you're going to be able to access, and then which one is also going to connect to a local bank account if you want to be able to take out fiat.
John, can I
And
say
Revolut
something?
as well.
Yep, go ahead, Jacqueline.
In reference to Uphold, be careful with that, because when you go over there to purchase, they will hold your funds for 65 days before you're able to do any movement with it.
Maybe that's new. I've never. Yeah,
That's a long
it's
hold
been a while
period.
since I'm using,
That's
but
a long.
It is,
That's a
it
long
is,
time.
and it's very true. Y'all can look it up. Yes, sir.
Okay.
then
Yeah, I had a little.
then
I used
Uphold
Uphold a few times.
is a
I don't
no-go
use it very
zone.
much.
Revolut 2, I heard Revolut 2 is good. Revolut now they have the features where you can actually convert some of your local fiat to cryptos and even invest on their platform. But you can always buy. I would always advise, if you're using Revolut and you're in the UK, use withdraw your funds into a wallet rather than an exchange, because I think I have one of my students that we once were doing one or two things with regards to that, and one of my friends made mention to me that he's actually based in the UK and said he also used Revolut, but he noticed he was being messaged every now and then asking them. They were asking about his transactions on Revolut to Binance, because Binance is a decentralized. Is it centralized exchange? It's centralized
It's
because they do a
centralized. Yeah, Binance
KYC.
is
So
centralized.
yeah. So they definitely have all the details of their customers. So more or less, it's very easy for them to actually demand, and if the UK government make demands that they want to have details about every transaction for every UK citizen, I doubt if they will refuse that. But on a wallet alone, like Trust Wallet, there's nothing they can do about that. They can't have that data. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So decentralized, if you have self-custody wallet, you have much more privacy. But if you're on a centralized one like Binance or Gemini or Coinbase, the government is definitely going to have access to your information. So whichever government
that's for the UK though, because UK is crazy. But I mean, I think other European countries, it's not a big deal for them on Binance. But I think of UK, there's one or two things I think you need to be careful if you are in the UK.
I would actually say, Joseph, a lot of Europe actually is very. I don't know if Binance is allowed to operate in a lot of Europe, because they kind of kept them out, for what I remember. So Binance had a very hard time getting into Europe. I don't know if they do it now, if anybody knows, but before they were having a very difficult time doing anything in Europe or the US actually.
Anyways, I know they're active again now in the UK, because my friend just told me a couple of weeks ago that now he's able to purchase with his Binance. Before they were restricted, you can't make any purchases on Binance if you're in the UK. But now I think it's active again. So
okay, good. So we will have more questions at the end. I want to shift gears, Joseph. If you have anything else, over to Akan. He's going to be giving us another perspective on blockchain for small home farmers. He wants to record. Yes, you can record, Akan. So, Akan, if you are ready, Joseph, if you're good, I'll switch over to Akan now. Akan, let me get you sharing for screen. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. Mm, Let me share screen. Yep, share that. I want to confirm that my screen is showing. Can everyone see my screen, please?
Yes, we can see your
Yeah.
screen.
Yes.
All right, all right. So, um, my name is Akan Williams, and I'm the business development lead and founding member at a farming cooperative society based in Nigeria. We've been in this system for over 5 years, and we've made some strides, and I'm glad to have had the opportunity to be presenting to you all. Um, we all know the reason why we're here is as regards blockchain and Bitcoin, and I'm hoping I could give a bit of a background before I dive into the main reason why I'm here. And the background is basically about blockchain and the direction that blockchain is taking in the next 30 years. There are people who have fears about blockchain and how long it will stay. There are some people that are saying it's a bubble. I can assure you that nothing about blockchain is a bubble. What we are seeing in blockchain is what has happened in the past with Microsoft, with Oracle, where you have this company promising clients for features that haven't been produced yet, but and they receive money based on those features. Then they now um, put the team to task to make sure that those features are available. That's what is happening in blockchain at the moment. There is a lot of money in the system, and this money is going to be used to make sure that blockchain lasts for at least 50 years. So if you have any fears, I'm talking as regards the people that I invited here and are not really sure about the direction of blockchain. I can assure you that blockchain is not going anywhere. But the problem that we are currently seeing in the system is that there are a lot of uses that don't really reflect real user value in the system. There are vibe coding and different AI platforms that don't really cover what people need and what is relevant. And the reason why I'm here is to point everybody here towards possible use cases, just in case you come across a project. When you do your research, and this project is focused in the agri sector, and it's looking at this angle, at tackling the blockchain question from this angle, I would encourage you to put your money in it. Now, the name of my talk is How Blockchain Can Unlock Real Value in African Agriculture. And and I'm focusing on how we can and I'm focusing on how we can utilize the current system that we have in Africa currently. Africa, we majorly we majorly are filled with farm plots that are owned by smallhold farmers, by rural farmers. There is no real structure like the way you would say Germany's farming system is highly organized, where they are able to generate billions of dollars in year in intra in intra-country deals and also exports. The current situation of Africa has to do with smallhold farmers, and I believe, which is why I joined in the formation of this farming cooperative, that the future of farming in Africa has to do with finding a way to coordinate the activities of the local smallhold farmers. So I'll move over to the next slide. Okay. Global hunger, I mean, it's clear from, as you can see on the screen, we have our sources here as the organization that watches over the agri sector in a global basis. We have UN projections by SOFA. SOFA is an annual publication by the UN that talks about the state of the agricultural situation, and the numbers are dismal. There are projections that by 2030, close to 600 million people will be chronically hungry. And Africa alone is projected to host about 60% of that world, of the global population of hungry people. And that's a calamity that is waiting to happen unless proactive organizations and initiatives like ours are able to step into the gap and fill the spaces that need to be filled up. The current reality is that Nigeria is very high up on the list of food insecure people. And I don't want to seem like a pessimist because this is something that is happening the world over. The past 2 years has been tough in the agri sector. You have someone stocking, like we stocked about, this happened in 2014. We stocked about 7 million naira worth of groundnuts from Bambara nuts from Benue. And we had to sell it at about half the price because it was beginning to spoil. And the market actually dropped. There were the policy changes really affected. And it wasn't just us, this spread all across the world. I mean, last year it was reported that um, Mississippi farmers in Mississippi in the US were unable to make back the profits that they made, uh, that they used to procure the inputs that was used for cultivation. So this is a problem that is worldwide, and I don't mean to bad mouth Nigeria, but the fact is that as a country, our systems are not as resilient as the other nations that will be able to bounce back. And like I said earlier, it is initiatives like farming cooperatives that hold the key to helping us to weather the storms that we are currently in. Um, the World Food Program and the UN reports show that tens of millions are at risk of acute food insecurity. And the basic thing about the Nigeria food challenge problem is that it's not about production. Production is actually the least of our issues. What our problem is system. We need to create more systems. We need to improve access to the markets, access to finance, and predictability in order to increase confidence in our ability to deliver as farmers. Um, Next slide. The next slide talks about the heart of African food systems, and this is where cooperatives like us come into play. What we can offer is things like market predictability, traceable supply data, coordinated planting and harvest schedules, access to structured finance. And all of these are the kind of things that investors look after. All of these are the kind of things that development finance institutions look after, like Afrexim Bank, like the African Development Bank of Nigeria, and the various banks that are currently playing a role towards helping us prevent the projected hunger metrics that is supposed to happen in Africa. Um, the current reality, like I mentioned earlier, we are in an AI age, but we find that there is a huge gap between promise and functionality. A lot of the promises that are being made by a lot of apps out there currently do not reflect their true functionality and do not currently reflect the true needs of the people. The truth is that tech without grounded use cases is just noise and is used to attract funding and has attracted funding. A lot of money has been poured, for example, into the fintech, AI fintech system. And a lot of these companies tend to close out within the next 3 to 4 years, making some progress, but not as much and not as impactful as it should have been. And all they basically do is churn cash. But here we have an opportunity through the cooperative systems to provide real user cases and provide real solutions that can absorb money, structured money from institutions and really bring results that will move the needle in the favor of the continent. Um, that's as regards the tech side. Now, what we as farmers really need is we need to be able to have a system where the market is predictable. We need to be able to have to make projections into the future that this is what we are going to sell. We need to be able to know that there are commitments that we have to make such that in a system where finance already comes before we need to plant, because the what usually happens is that we find a way to make finance, to gather finance, then we pay for whatever input, farm, then we now make our money back. But the way going forward, in order to prevent the calamity that is coming, according to the UN report, is that we need to be able to access finance before planting. And this requires a whole ecosystem that the innovation of blockchain is very well positioned to provide. So what I'm looking at is reframing the blockchain system. It's blockchain is not a token factory. It's not a crypto toy. It can serve as a foundation for structured finance. It can help us um, create real modalities for correct planting and harvesting records. It can help improve the transparency of supply commitments so that we can now have a system where we we can aggregate farms, let's say 1 million hectares of land, and we know that there is a market that this is going to, let's say the Middle East. And this just makes the whole system much more tenable and much more predictable. And projections can be made with that, and we will have progress, not just as farmers, but as a people as a whole. I'm here to say that AI is totally not a replacement for farmers. It just helps to improve our timing. It helps us to reduce waste because with more money into the system, especially before we begin farming, it improves how we are able to um to apportion money towards research and development, which is something that is really lacking. We have a lot of the innovations that farmers are bringing out aren't being sustained because, like I said, currently the way we are getting funds is through among ourselves and makes it difficult. So if I make an innovation and there is no form of support, it's either that innovation dies off, or if I hear bad news like my crop is selling for 20% the of the real value, or I hear crazy news like maybe my crops went bad in the field or something, I could have a heart attack. This is something that happens very regularly, especially in this part of the world, because of the systems that are unavailable to actually support them, to actually support the farmers. So, and like I said before, and I'll say again, Nigeria's food challenge is not about production. It's really about systems. It's really about access to finance and markets. It's really about the predictability. Now, the future that I'm seeing with AI and its functionality in blockchain is futures. And these futures needs to be made in such a way that it protects both the consumers and as well as the farmers. So I'm looking at a system where not only do we have farming cooperatives, we also have consumers cooperatives. So let's say we have doctors, um, 20 doctors come together and form a cooperative and say that they'll be and begin to make futures towards how the farmers will produce what they produce. What this will do is that it will help sanitize our systems because currently our systems of how we get produce from the farms to the table in Nigeria isn't as standard as it should be. Case in point being I ate out in a state in southern Nigeria called Bayelsa. I paid about $9 for that meal. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but over here it means something. When you pay $9 for a meal, you're expected to have a treat, right? But I discovered that the goat meat was sandy. And if it was just one goat meat, it would have been okay. But there were about 6 to 7 pieces of goat meat in that soup, and all of them had sand. So I had to beckon the manager, and the person told me that, and I was like, there is sand inside this meat. What can be done about this? And he said that's how it is done here. And I looked at this guy, I almost punched him in the throat. Because can you tell me that I'm expecting a premium meal, and you are giving me goat meat and there is sand, and your answer you can tell me is that there is sand inside? But then I realized that it's about the systems, the broken systems, how the abattoirs are not up to task. For example, the abattoirs and the slaughterhouse in Lagos are nothing to write home about. It's not a good sight. How the animals are slaughtered. There are reports and documented studies of how trauma can be stored in the flesh of animals, and how you slaughter them also has an effect on the end consumers. So when you have innovations like um, cooperatives on the end of the consumers, it will help checkmate a lot of these problems that I'm talking about. The futures can um, create systems where the farmers can register planting dates and expected yields. This would help modulate the price for fluctuations and also control the amount of wastage and what is being produced. We have this kind of system will match the buyers to the investors, where investors can in fact can finance farms based on their visibility on blockchain. Because like I said, blockchain is not going anywhere for the next 30 years. So much money has been pumped into blockchain, and any user case scenario that works is something that should be considered. This is a user case scenario that works. We are looking at a future where smallholder growers can access structured finance using verifiable yield data, which can be gotten through the system of the blockchain. And we are looking at the system where AI, of course, will be used for pricing and risk assessment. And the outcome of all of this is that finance and access to finance becomes available before production and not after. Why this matters is the World Economic Forum that just held about last week in Davos. There was, among one of the panels, was one led by the lady called Sabrina Elba. And this had heads of the agricultural sector among different fields. Like from Kenya, there was a person from Nigeria, there was someone from South Africa, I think there was someone from Indonesia, just all over the world come together and they discussed it. And they discussed that the future of agriculture actually lies in the hands of the smallhold farmers. And 60% of the hungry people in the world are going to be in Africa by 2030. And we have a lot of smallhold farmers. And we have a lot of money being pumped into blockchain. I'm putting it this way just so that you can keep your eyes open. Because, like I said, since there's a lot of money being pumped into blockchain, there's a lot of vibe coding going on. And it is easy to become deceived by whatever you see. But I can assure you that if you can find a project that is based in agriculture and that solves the problem of smallhold farmers, I would encourage you to invest in it, because that could just be a gem, a diamond in the rough that you just uncovered. The discussions from the panel made us understand that investors want predictability, not uncertainty, which is true. Um, Institutional finance doesn't want to be able to make projections based on concrete data. Food systems are now being spoken about as global infrastructure because food is one of the silent controllers of economy. Look at what happened to the wheat prices when the war started in Ukraine and how that affected the balance of power among the nations. This risk is certainly depriced when data is available. And these are just basically some of the insights that were gotten from the conversation at Davos that recently happened. As a call to action, the way forward is to build coordination infrastructure. If you can find a team that knows what they are doing towards building coordination infrastructure, I would advise you to jump in as early as possible, because in this system, it's usually the early adopters that tend to win the game in this blockchain system. If you can find teams that are able to tie the technology of blockchain to real farm data, please jump in. If you can see teams that are working on ways to link supply to finance even before harvest, please jump into that. And any team that is creating African agricultural markets that are predictable, transparent, and investable, I would really, really much consider anybody to consider this as a worthy investment option. Smallholder farmers, in truth, are the backbone of sustainable food economies of the future. And there are a lot of us in Africa. This is the reason why this organization was formed. And in a time such as this, it will require a lot of boldness because this is something that has more or less been untested, but but the move of the ecosystem shows that efforts are being made to make blockchain as stable as possible. Therefore, the smartest investor would try and preempt the future before it comes. And the future is food. There are going to be a lot of hungry people within the next 2, 3 years, and Africa has the youngest population. And I will encourage anybody that so far as you understand that the future of food depends on properly priced and properly financed agriculture, and you really understand what the team that is behind whatever project you choose is involved in, I would advise you to jump in. Um, these are my contacts in case you have further questions that or things that you would love more clarity on or consultations. I'm very much open. This is my WhatsApp contact, and that will be all. Thank you very much.
So let's go to questions, Akan. I'm sure there are quite a few. I'll start us out, and I'll also let everybody know, not financial advice, not investment advice, but obviously you can connect with the project and talk with Akan and learn about what they're doing. How, if somebody is collaborating with you on this and they're interested in your blockchain, how exactly does it work? I mean, let's say I'm like, hey, I want to be part of the blockchain solution that you're doing. How would I get involved in that? What would I get back for doing that? Can you kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah. Okay, so we are currently not invested in blockchain. We do not have the team, neither do we have the capacity or the structure for that. This is a
Oops.
form of advice because there are people that already have teams in place, people that already have structures in place, and you might see them and not think that they are serious. But I'm using this opportunity to point you towards a possible gem that you might just be overlooking. You can imagine the person that bought pizza with Bitcoin. There was a story I heard that somebody used 4 Bitcoin to buy pizza, and you can imagine how the person will be feeling in 2026. So this is the same thing that occurs here. We currently are not involved in Bitcoin, but we have projects. Like, for example, we have a 10-hectare plantation that we are cultivating in Benin, a city in southern Nigeria, where we have different hybrids of habanero pepper, the white hybrids, the brown hybrids, the green, the red hybrids. We have a plantain plantation there. We have a cassava plantation there. We have quite a lot of things that are going on there to build the market space there. We also have acquired 2,000 square feet of land where we plan to pilot a project that converts farm waste into proteins for the aquaculture market. So we are much more on land assets. We are a farming cooperative that is much more on land assets. We do not have any project we are backing that has to do with Bitcoin or any token. No, we don't. And this is just a way of educating the people that are here to keep their eyes open because a a 50 a $100 investment now in the correct project in agriculture could yield hundreds of thousands of dollars within the next year, within the next 2 years, because we have a growing population on this continent and there is a lot of money being pumped into ensuring that the infrastructure for blockchain is standardized. Now, just to make it clear, the money that is being pumped into blockchain is basically because of the consumption. The amount of energy that is required to make 1 Bitcoin currently, okay, the amount of annually, the amount of energy that is required to produce 1 Bitcoin is runs well over terawatts of hours. Like, and the way Bitcoin is produced in blocks. So a So a block can contain about 3 point something Bitcoins as a reward for successfully hashing out that block. And say, for example, now the annual consumption of Bitcoin is can power Portugal, according to reports, for close to 3 years, 2.5 years. You can imagine that amount of energy meaning that currently the infrastructure to sustain Bitcoin is not available, which is the reason why a lot of money is being pumped. Amazon raised about $200 million. That was last week to pump into their blockchain project, and it affected their earnings because I think their stock dropped about 10% thereabout. um, Oracle has offered bonds, about 10-year bonds, in order to increase liquidity. Same as Meta. A lot of money is being pumped. AI researchers and blockchain researchers are being paid millions of dollars per month. This is unheard of in most sectors, but this is because it has been seen that the way forward is blockchain, and a lot of money is being pumped. And I'm just using this as a pointer for you to keep your eyes open. In case you see a project, you shouldn't underestimate any project out there that you see currently that is trying to solve the agricultural problem.
And Akan, what about the AI part? How does AI play into this?
AI basically works with pricing. I mean, when there are a lot of Bitcoin projects that comes on board, because I'm looking within the next few years, there will be more Bitcoin projects. AI now comes into play because with AI now, you can now have a system where you can ask AI that based on the current um based on the current trajectory on this blockchain, that this what are the current prices that this could happen, that we could see with this. And with that information, you can now decide to join a futures. Like I said, consumer cooperatives are the future, is the next thing that is going to come out of this system that has been agreed that smallhold farmers are the future. Now we have farming cooperatives like us. The next thing that is meant to come out is consumer cooperatives that will protect the consumers on the end. Because currently, initiatives like us are protecting the farmers on our end. So whatever project that you see, and there are more that are going to pop out. So far as you've done your research on them, you should invest in them. Then I'm seeing AI catching up much after there are much more, many more blockchain projects coming online, so that AI will now begin to set standards among them and provide advisory as regards investment options.
Okay. Other questions that people have for Akan? Smallhold farming and the blockchain, the AI aspects. Questions?
Yeah, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Is there any project in the agriculture sector that has virtualized or standardized the system you are projecting that we should look into in the future or wherever we come across them?
Yeah. Okay. So there are two teams in Nigeria currently. One is being backed by Y Combinator, and the other, I believe, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure of where they're getting their funding from, but I think it's from the Tony Elumelu Foundation. The one that is backed by Y Combinator is Thrive Agric, and they are actively working on bringing on board their project. The other is that is being backed by Tony Elumelu Foundation is Farm Crowdy. So these are two that I know that are working on coming online within the next few months or so. And there'll be many more out there. I mean, this is our continent and it's very large. There are a lot of bright people across the continent, but these are the two that come to my mind at the moment.
Okay.
Okay. Would that be all? Is any other questions for me? Okay, if there are no questions, I just want to encourage everyone. Like I said, Bitcoin is going nowhere. Blockchain is going nowhere. There have been promises that have been made that has increased the liquidity in the system. So there is more money, eh, billions of dollars liquidity have been made available in the Bitcoin and the blockchain space towards targeted towards making energy consumption of Bitcoin much more um, much more affordable for the common person. The energy consumption for blockchain currently is phenomenal. And like I said, if you see a project in the agri space, our advice is jump in early because it's the early adopters that will win.
Okay, if there are no other questions for Akan, any other questions? Great. Okay, I'm going to hop into our market overview then. Thanks, Akan. You can stop recording and please stick around again for the next section.
Okay.
And I'm going to
Okay.
take over the screen sharing.
Okay.
Doing a last minute AI add to my deck here. Let me start sharing. If anybody does not use Gamma for presentations,